Ramble.
Thank you to Honey, Best Fiends, and DoorDash for sponsoring today's episode.
Hello, listeners. Before today's episode, we wanted to plug an awesome new podcast we're cooking up here at TryCorp. It's called You Can Sit With Us, and it's hosted by the TryWives, Maggie, Becky, and Ariel. What could be better, you ask? Nothing! Nothing could be better. So stick around after the episode to hear an exclusive teaser from their show. It launches next week, July 6th. We're going to link it in the description. Go give them some love. Go subscribe. Get excited. All right, now into today's episode.
Hey, TryPod listeners. It's Keith.
Hey there.
Zach.
Hello.
Ned.
Hey.
King Miles.
Hi.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, King.
You're listening to the TryPod with the boys and King Miles.
We and the subjects of King Miles. Here we are on another gloomy June day in the year of our Lord 2020, or whichever Lord you prefer to praise. In our case, it is King Miles.
I've never appreciated June gloom quite so much. Like, I wake up every morning, I'm like, yeah, it should be overcast.
You're excited that it should be overcast because it like reflects your mood.
Yeah, it just feels right.
I like clouds. That's why everyone says I strike them as a New York type person, but I love when it's just...
Love clouds.
I love fog, you know?
Hell yeah.
I love when it looks like there's something in the mist. Yeah, I like spooky weather.
I do like I like it when the world is a little spooky, like when you're on vacation in another town and like, oh, there's all this fog, and maybe you're in like Savannah and there's Spanish moss hanging from the trees.
Oh yeah,
it's all spooky. I love when like, ooh, am I in a horror novel? This is exciting.
Ooh, you're an intrepid young female detective investigating the murder of your brother. But you have to go back to your hometown, where the head of the newspaper is your ex-lover.
Ooh, tell me more.
Oh, you know, this is like every show about a young female detective. Well, but you know who loves to talk about the weather casually? It's Karen.
What?
You know, there's a lot of Karens wilding out recently. And just to preface this, again, Karen is not a slur. Karen is a moniker for privileged white women who are just making the biggest scenes out of the tiniest inconveniences. And we've seen a lot of viral videos recently trending of many Karens Karening their Karens in the grocery stores.
The grocery
Have you all seen
store.
These videos?
Yeah.
This week in Karen. What were the clips? I'm losing track of this week versus last.
I saw the one where there was a lady who was so upset that she was asked to wear a mask and she wasn't wearing a mask, that she was like ripping just everything out of her grocery cart. And I was like, that's rude.
Yeah, my problem with that is that she didn't finish emptying the cart. She gave up halfway through, and I said, no. If you're going to throw a tantrum and decide you're going to throw all your groceries out, you stay there and you finish the cart. You don't get embarrassed by your own behavior halfway through. You have to commit to that stupid decision, and you have to throw every frozen pizza, every head of broccoli onto the floor so that your point is made, ma'am. But if you walk away halfway through the cart, then you're just a half-asser. You know?
For those who don't know, the reason that they are screaming in these grocery stores is because someone had asked them to put on a mask, because apparently to get into these stores, you have to be wearing a mask. So they're already wearing a mask going to the store, and then they see it as a form of protest to remove their mask in the store while they're shopping. And then they freak out when someone points out. Yeah, it's crazy. There was that one. I believe that was in Dallas. There was another one that was the woman with the bebe.
That was in North Hollywood.
Yes, my Moira Rose. It was a bebe shirt. Yeah, in a Trader Joe's. She went off. It's just... I don't understand, and maybe y'all can explain this because it's not my culture, but what is it? Can y'all provide some much needed insight into, have y'all had, like, what is it that, like, gets a certain type of white woman to a point where they have to cause a scene like that because they feel like they have been served some form of injustice. Like causing a scene like that is it's such a choice, right? Like choices. Have you seen the price of avocados lately? I mean, it's enough to throw your cart on the floor. The source of the Karen, the Karen type is that if you are like even inconvenienced at like the Apple store, you ask to see the manager. Right. It's like taking those extra steps to be like, I demand service. Where does this come from?
Well, I think it comes from you. They just are allowed to get whatever they want. And generally when they complain, it works.
What is that quote? There's that quote where like when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. And I think for them, when they're so privileged, anything feels like oppression. And so these are people that are extremely self-righteous and for the first time in their lives are feeling any resistance to their comfortable bubble of a life, and they go, well, I'm a good person. I do great things. How dare you tell me that I need to change the way I live? To which I say a big fuck you.
I think part of it too is that this is the first time they're wrong and everybody agrees they're wrong. So normally a Karen tiff happens between her and the checkout person and the manager, and everyone else is kind of like, who's this crazy person? And then we're all kind of silent, like, what is wrong with her? She's such a lunatic. And then now it's like, what's wrong with you? You're such a lunatic. And everybody is on board with like, no, you idiot. You're going to make everybody
much more capability
sick.
For going viral.
Yeah.
Rather than just your average Karen situation. What do you mean you're out of Brussels sprouts? I will not come back Thursday when it's restock day. I want them. You got them in the back. I'm going to ask to speak to the manager.
I think there is something too in white people having this expectation that if things are not exactly to their liking, they have this right to speak to the manager. I try in my heart and in my mind to separate Jews from Karen culture, but we're not exempt. In middle school, in home ec, we had a class assignment to write a strongly worded letter to a company. That was a real homework assignment that I had in middle school. You had to choose something to write a complaint about. And so I treated it like a joke. I found a ketchup packet that was filled with air. And so I wrote to Heinz Ketchup and I got a 25-cent coupon. I felt very accomplished for that. But but it was like, that was a real, like, my class was indoctrinated into this belief of, yes, you should complain to the manager.
Anyone that's ever been dicked over by their internet or phone provider on customer service support calls does know that escalating it is the way to get a couple bucks off your bill. Get this, when we were setting up the internet in our office, we were switching companies because the one didn't have enough speed. And like as I was switching, after trying to get a better deal for like a couple of phone conversations, I finally had to be like, I am terminating my service. Like, that's it. The other company's coming to install it tomorrow. And then they're like, well, sir, would you like $50 off your internet? I was like, it's too late now.
Did you guys see the Karens, though? There was a couple, God, I don't even know where it was, but they were pointing guns outside of their home on people on the street.
It was St. Louis.
And that was because a group of protesters were marching to the mayor's house because the mayor on her Facebook Live was basically doxing people who had sent letters asking to defund the police. She was reading off the name and addresses of people who had written to her asking her to make the budget more appropriate. And she was literally reading the names and addresses of protesters.
So this Black Lives Matter protest was marching towards the house, which happened to pass a very wealthy neighborhood. And this Karen and Derek or Brett or whatever, they come out of their mansion, mausoleum-style mansion.
I thought it was the Capitol. It's a crazy house.
It's kind of comic because he was also like smaller than her, but he was carrying like an AR-15 and she was carrying like the tiniest like Men in Black pistol.
Yeah.
They were just waving it around at the protesters. But what was just scary is that there are these photos circulating now of her in particular, and the fear in her eyes is palpable. Like this rage and fear is just insane.
It looks like a really shitty Mr. and Mrs. Smith poster.
Yeah.
The thing that really gets me is his tucked in shirt, white pants, brown belt combo.
I think those are white shorts. Weren't they khaki shorts?
People were sharing that he looks like the had to do it to him kid.
Grown up. Wow, those are his parents. You're so right.
Wow.
Something that's been going on Twitter as well is people saying like, hey, you know, Karen is a really cute name for fucking white supremacist psychopaths.
Right.
Like these two people are not Karens. They are monsters.
I mean, yeah, that is an act of terrorism. They're threatening people with firearms.
It is crazy how like all the issues are so lumped together. It's like, yeah, that's a Karen, but like I would bet serious cash that the woman in the Trader Joe's freaking out also loves Trump and hates Black Lives Matter. Like it's just it is just all grouped into the same.
It's a Venn diagram that's actually just a circle.
Yeah.
I believe.
I'm shocked. I guess I don't know why I'm shocked, because obviously everything that's polarized gets politicized, but like wearing a mask should not be a political statement.
No.
It isn't a political statement. I'm pretty sure everyone likes saving lives, right? Nothing really political about that. Yeah. Everyone should be on board with curbing the coronavirus.
I was just going to say, like, can't the administration just release, Make America Great Again face masks? Like they would sell. I would hate seeing them, and they would effectively still be able to make me mad, but they'd be following the rules. Like that would be a great solve. They can still piss me off, which is what they want to do, but also they can protect one another.
I guess the same mental reasoning applies to AR-15s, right? Like no one needs to own an AR-15. Like that's a way to save lives, is to have fewer AR-15s out in the world. But that person thinks that it's a way of their freedom. Hello, Ariel.
Hello. We're talking about AR-15s.
You may not know, but if you're watching on YouTube, we have this is Ariel's desk next to my desk, you see. We're working on a big secret project.
They work in a small startup office. Yeah.
Yeah. And also in our this is we're in the midst of renovating our garage, and so now this is the storage room. This is, I got boxes behind me, I got pillows, I got a half of a mattress. It's rough as a podcasting background. Maybe I should
You should ask to speak to the manager, Ned. It's a mess in there.
Hey, excuse me. I'd like to talk to the manager, please. Ariel? Yes, hi. This is unacceptable. I'm doing a podcast here. I don't like this. No, I do not like this. I'm just kidding, honey. I love you.
Okay, now I want to speak to the manager.
Yeah, I'd like.
But I do think this is cultural, because I think like I've never asked to speak to a manager because I was taught not to do that. You know, there are certainly Asian Karens. Like I'll just call them Vivians. Like there's Vivians out there who have they probably are very conservative and rich. But overall, I was always told, be gracious, keep your head down. And if there's a problem, like solve it yourself. Like that was always what I was taught growing up. And the very least, that's what I saw my parents do. Like, you know, anytime they'd have an issue, they usually just were like, well, I guess I gotta which has its own setbacks, obviously, culturally. Like Asians should be standing up more individually, but it is interesting because I can't relate to the idea of like having to take it to the toppest tier of management.
It's all about compassion, right? It's these kind of all of the problems that we're talking about. I feel like it's compassion or a lack of compassion. If you don't understand police brutality, you have no compassion. If you don't care about wearing a mask, it's because you have no compassion. And even something as simple as if you are Karening out and trying to complain to the manager, it's because you are so separated from the notion of any service job. You or no one in your family, no one that you know has ever been in that position and had a rough day. And so when you are at a restaurant and the meal is taking too long or some minute fucking thing that...
Or your cheese isn't there for 18 minutes.
Oh, the fajita cheese. Yeah. Oh my God. Also, my home state of Texas is the Facebook post the husband put of his wife. Ned, I don't know if you saw this, but she's sitting at this restaurant, obviously. Like
no, I'm in
COVID.
San Francisco right now, actually.
But she's staring off into the distance like her parents just passed. And it's just this whole table full of food. And the caption he put is like, we have been waiting here for over 18 minutes for the shredded cheese. My wife cannot have her fajitas without shredded cheese. We can't keep blaming COVID for bad service.
I think he said she is unable to eat without her favorite shredded cheese.
What's crazy is there's like 2 items on the table that's not the fajitas that's covered in shredded cheese. It just boggles the mind.
Well, sometimes people are trying to fuck you over. Like, I've been in a situation of like, it was very clear to me they were fucking me over. I'm like, wait, no, you sold me this and that's not what it is. Mm-hmm. So what am I supposed to do? Like,
we won't create the Karen binary. There's a lot of shades of gray.
Like there are some times when you pay for something and it's
50
fucked
shades
up and
of
you have to
Karen.
change it. 50 Shades of Karen. But I like restaurants. I don't think I've ever sent food back.
No,
I know that's something people do if it's like not right or it has something. I have no food allergies, right? So I can't really ever say it's like, oh no, you forgot to hold the cheese and now I can't eat it. It's like I can still eat it. So I feel very uncomfortable in that situation, like sending food back, even if it comes in wrong. I'll just eat it because I like food. And
I think
other situations,
it's not asking to speak to the manager; it's the tone with which you speak to a service.
Oh, totally.
It's how you treat
for sure.
people.
How you
that's
treat
fucked
people.
up.
Yeah,
How you treat
all
people.
across the board.
Woo, thank God, because I've definitely sent food back, guys.
Eugene, you ever be like wanting something for dinner and then someone else in your house doesn't want the same thing?
Oh my gosh, all I want is takeout. All I want is delivery.
And that's why we use DoorDash, baby, because DoorDash has something for everybody. You know what DoorDash is? You probably heard about this before. I don't know how you haven't, but if you haven't, boy, have we got a deal for you! Listen, baby, DoorDash is the app that brings you food you're craving right now, right to your door. It's easy to do it. You open the app, you choose what you want to eat, and then your food's going to be left outside your door so you don't have to see another human at all in the process, baby. That's right, contactless delivery.
I love that. And with over 300,000 partners in the US, Puerto Rico, Canada, and Australia, you can support your local go-tos or choose from your favorite national restaurants like
Chipotle,
Wendy's,
and the Cheesecake Factory. It's not just the chains. Your favorite local restaurants are still open for delivery right now. Just use the DoorDash app, select your favorite local restaurant, and your food's going to be left at your door. It's great.
DoorDash deliveries are now contactless to keep communities we operate in safe.
So right now, our listeners can get $5 off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code TRYGUYS. That's $5 off of your delivery, and there's going to be no delivery fee on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code TRYGUYS. And again, I know you're thinking, Keith, I know. Guess what? You don't, because the code is TRYGUYS for $5 off your first order with DoorDash. There's no excuse. You know you're ordering food. Do it today.
Yeah, well, that's what my point is. Like, it's different.
Yeah, right.
It's okay to.
It just, you can't be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This is not what I want.
Yeah, and actually, if you have your food wrong, you don't really need to talk to the manager. Usually, your server can help you out just fine.
Normally, they can handle it.
We could go on a whole tangent about service industry, like being a waiter.
Oh,
Oof.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how you see the true colors of people.
Yeah.
Is when they believe. And I think part of it is like even the word server creates an idea in some people's minds that this is a person who is lesser than me right now.
Yeah.
And that's not the truth. This is a person who is doing their job. You don't go to the Verizon store and think this person's lesser than you. You don't go to, but in a restaurant, suddenly you feel like, oh, these people don't matter. I don't need to treat them well. Or some people have that perspective, and it's totally flawed and incorrect and not how you handle any other transaction.
the most infuriating is cabin crew. When people speak down to those who are working the literal mechanical metal device you're throttling yourself through the air with, these are the people who are trained not to give you your little fucking, whiskey with ginger ale, but to usher your ass off the plane when it's on fire. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Same thing with the cruise performers are all the ones who are trained to save your ass when the cruise ship is sinking.
Right.
So guaranteed, if I was ever in those positions, and I would clock you if you were Karening me in that fucking plane, I'd be like, okay, everything's fine. You can stay and seated. Everyone else run this way.
I think I've shared this in the past, but so you guys know I have my bad back and chronic pain, so I have to get up and stretch a lot on airplanes. And my favorite pre-corona pastime, this is something I won't be able to do anymore. I go to the back cabin and I ask them, I'm like, hey guys, do you mind if I stretch? I explain my situation. And then we become friends. And then I just go, hey, who's driving you crazy on this flight? If you ever have the opportunity to let a flight attendant just fucking dish, oh man, they've got stories to tell.
Then do you just like go and like crop dust a little fart next to that person?
Jesus.
Yeah, I kind of asked like, hey, who, if I were to accidentally have my elbow knock into someone on the way back to my
33D?
seat. Yeah.
Can you guys believe that American Airlines is going to be letting all the people on the plane at the same time?
Keith, I can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, so American Airlines, and I think another airline, they basically said, okay, as of July 1st, we're going to stop social distancing practicing. We're going to seat every single seat, which even before that, they were only not seating middle seats. So like it still technically wasn't, I mean, it actually is sort of all nil because you're in a tube of shared air for 3 to 4 hours.
What they say, I've done some research on this, is that the cloud of infection is, in theory, only the seat in front of you and behind you. It's not as bad as I think I assumed, and you're assuming that the whole plane.
Yeah.
But, you're crossing by people. I just wanted to issue that fairness.
Can't drink the American Airlines
But
Kool-Aid, Zach. That's what they want you to think.
It's not just that airline is going to be doing that. By that airline doing that, and if people are buying those tickets, that means every airport now has more people as well. So it's affecting the other airplanes by that airplane doing that because you're going to be passing more people through security, more people in there. So if you need to fly, let's say there's a family emergency and you have to fly and you're going to fly on Southwest Airlines, which is doing a good job and keeping their social distancing, you are going to be in a more dangerous environment to get to that plane because of another airline's choices.
Yeah.
So that, like, it's not just that airline affecting its customers, it is now affecting the entire industry. And that, to me, is, like, so selfish, and I get that they're going through a hard time, but everybody's going through a hard time, and it is simply risking people's lives.
Yeah. It's also an airline, so, like, they're not going through a hard time. They're fascists. Airlines
got
are
plenty
the
of
biggest fucking, like, waste. No, I have no respect.
We'll bail them out again and again and again.
Like,
And what you're saying, Keith, is a microcosm of what's been breaking my heart about the coronavirus in America, just again and again and again. It'd be one thing if people filling up Trump's rally in Tulsa were just infecting themselves, which, shocker, we saw a huge spike in Tulsa following that. But it's not that. It's that they are then going out into the world and coming in contact with essential workers who maybe can't afford to not work, and it's disproportionately affecting people of lower socioeconomic class and people of color. And so it's these reckless decisions are then reverberating out, and then maybe these people go home and have to take care of an elderly person in their family. It just...
Right.
Don't quote me on this, but I believe there was a report recently that said like the 10 richest people in the world, billionaires, got exceptionally richer over the past 6 months. Like they've become,
I think they collectively made another $500 million or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
like they are getting richer from this pandemic. So
There's something there. There's something there that sounds not good.
yeah.
oh,
Keep in mind that the coronavirus spreads with asymptomatic people. I think that is very difficult for us to understand, and even me, I'm like very tapped into it, super. I wear my mask all the time, but then I think like, oh well, I don't feel bad, so I probably don't have it, but like I totally could right now. I could have it, and that's like it's such a foreign idea, the fact that the deaths and the spikes that we're seeing now are related to people being at beaches over Memorial Day. It's like, I think there's something about, since every other type of illness we've dealt with, it's very immediate about coughing and sneezing. And there's kind of direct correlation. This sort of like what happened 4 weeks ago is happening now. It makes your actions feel like they are fine, or they don't have like any negative impacts, which is it's just something very difficult, I think, for all humans to understand just because it's totally new.
I know there are a lot of people out there who are like, can we just talk about something else finally, please? But one of the most insidious things that is happening right now is the normalization of this pandemic. And you can't just get into this place where suddenly you're comfortable and you become complacent, and then you start hanging out with a couple friends and you go, oh, well, if I just go see my friends, it's fine. Oh, but then I also have to go to the grocery store and go to the gas station. Like over 125,000 people in the US have died. We are now back to where we were in April. Things right now are as bad as they have ever been. We are failing totally and completely, so we have to keep screaming about this. And guys, 4th of July weekend is coming up. We're filming this one a little early this week. Today we're filming this on Monday, so who knows what's happened in the days since, but just cancel your fucking plans right now. I promise you, whatever shitty barbecue pool party you were planning, the slip and slide can wait. Get some fucking watermelon slices and sit in your own home. Cancel your plans. I don't give a shit what you're thinking about doing. Fuck your 4th of July, okay?
You can always get barbecue to go. It's one of the best foods to get to go. Because it's already slow cooked, baby. So like it's steaming a little more in that box. That's just extra slow cooking, baby.
Well, guys, I think we should turn our attentions and discussion to... This was a big week for a reckoning of entertainment. And again, I want to point out that we're recording this early this week. It's Monday, so who knows what's happened in the days since. But this week, just on YouTube, Jenna Marbles released a video addressing past controversies and said she was stepping away from YouTube. Then, inspired by that, Shane Dawson released a video addressing his laundry list of past discretions, and then the Smith family turned against him. Liza Koshy released an apology note. In the cartoon world, I'm just going to list all this because there's so much that happened. Wow. In the cartoon world, first Jenny Slate said that she was stepping down from voicing a biracial character in Big Mouth. Following that, the white actor who voices Cleveland on Family Guy said that he would no longer be voicing Cleveland, though he also voices Consuela, the Hispanic housekeeper. In the world of blackface, Tina Fey asked to remove an episode of 30 Rock that has blackface. People were quick to point out that Kimmy Schmidt has a yellowface episode. Community removed an episode that has blackface, and Golden Girls also has an episode where they are wearing mud masks that they removed for the same reason. And other people were like, wait, was that one blackface? I might even be missing some. But whoa, it's been a week.
I think what we're on the platform of YouTube, right? And I think one thing we should start this whole conversation off with is that YouTubers don't work together. We are all independent businesses who happen to operate on the same platform. It's different than even like NBC, which has a certain showcase of shows that all are being approved in certain ways, and there maybe are some production companies that are across those same channels.
You mean Captain YouTube doesn't approve our content?
Right.
I'd like to speak to the manager of YouTube, sir.
But I mean, so we don't know. Like I've met Shane Dawson once at an award show. That's the extent of my knowledge of this man as a person that I've met.
Eugene was saying before the podcast that he's never watched anything he's ever made.
Well, I can't talk. I'm so embarrassed because everyone assumes YouTubers watch other YouTubers, and I literally watch nothing on YouTube.
Well, that's not true. We watch stuff on YouTube, but we actually watch stuff you would not expect. Like I watch a show called Defunct Land, which is all about amusement parks and the history of Disney, and it's like just educational, and they're 20 minutes long, and you could probably say some of them are boring, but I enjoy them.
Your point is that I've found that most of the people that I've followed has been kind of transactional after you've finally met them in person, which is usually at like in passing at an award show. That's the most we've ever seen at VidCon. But yeah, I think people might misconstrue thinking that all YouTubers are close friends,
or that we are knowledgeable. Like I think none of us watched any YouTube. We started watching more YouTube once we started, but I think for a lot of people, what Jenna Marbles had done in the past and how she's changed, what Shane done in the past, I had no idea. This was total news to us in the last couple of days because we hadn't done the homework. We hadn't checked on their past.
But I think that there's a culture that has happened prior to even 2020 where, people like top YouTubers, Shane, Jeffree Star, to name a couple, were called out for racist incidents. And, it was always problematic. But what we saw, and like, I hate mentioning them, but the Paul brothers, they...
The other Paul brothers?
The Paul brothers. They're clearly problematic people who should, in many instances, have been deplatformed. But they not only survived the controversies, they also gained followers.
That's why Zach jokes about how he wants to be have
Canceled.
beef with somebody.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing, but we have seen that everybody who has ever been problematic and apologized for it, although they do have an initial dip during the controversy, it actually tends to propel them to more success. People can be quick to forgive, and sometimes forgiveness is right. Like when someone makes a mistake and they totally own up to it and they don't do that ever again. That's great.
And when it's followed by positive action.
Yes, it's not just, I said this in a previous podcast, it's not just stop doing something bad, it's start doing something good. You're not a good person because you stop doing something bad. You are then a neutral person. And then if you do good, then you start becoming a good person. But I think Jenna Marbles is a good example. She addressed what she did, but if you look at her content, she does not do anything like that. But at the same time, even now, she's like, I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable, so I'm going to stop making stuff for a while. I'm going to figure out what I need to do to put good back into this platform and into this world.
Hey, Keith.
What?
We all need a break now and then, but why not keep your brain active while you relax? That's why I love the fun puzzle game, Best Fiends. It's an oasis of fun you can take with you anywhere, because when you need some me time, Best Fiends is a fun escape from the everyday. There are thousands of fun challenges and tons of cute characters to collect along the way.
Who's your favorite little cute character, Eugene?
I've been playing and I really am not a slug guy, so I'm kind of into this character named Tantrum. Yeah, Tantrum's a war-hardened dung beetle.
Hey, that's pretty good. I've been playing this game. I'm a pro at this point, but what's good about the game is obviously there's constantly new puzzles. They get harder as you progress. You have to figure out which, little slug characters you're going to be utilizing as you play the games.
You don't need to worry about Wi-Fi access or using cell data.
That's awesome, because the worst thing is when you're forget and you're playing a mobile game and then you look and you drained your battery and then you get a text being like, hey, you're out of data, loser. Oh no, that'll never happen on this.
So Best Fiends has thousands of levels already, with new levels, events, and characters added every month. It's hours of fun right at your fingertips, and you can even play offline.
With over 100 million downloads and tons of 5-star reviews, Best Fiends is a must-play, baby! Download Best Fiends free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's Fiends. Yeah, it's friends without the R. Best Fiends.
With Jenna, where I don't think any of us are well-versed enough on her content to really take a stance, but what I've seen from her, and also I should say, with Jenna, it's not our apology to accept, right?
Right, yeah.
It's not mine, and I'm going to... I also didn't watch her before. I think she's a nice human.
We also met her once at an award show.
Yeah, I think I met her twice, and she was really lovely. But what I've seen from her, there was that clip that went viral of her calling out the Kardashians for... systemic racism. And so what I've seen from her has been, this seems and feels like someone who has grown. I think the problem that Shane Dawson is facing, with Shane Dawson, what is emerging is not just these isolated incidents. People are going back into Elijah Koshy's past and they found 2 clips of her having Asian stereotypes. But with Shane, it is, and not to say that that's not bad, with Shane, it is years and years of blackface and
pedophilic humor.
Yeah.
Pedophilic humor and just crazy shit. And so cancel culture, I don't think it means, hey, this person should go to prison, but I think it also is totally fair for people to say, hey, I don't think we should be supporting this guy. That wasn't as eloquent as I wanted it to be. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah, I think the main thing is has their content changed since the apology, right? But then you see people who have apologized multiple times, and it's sort of like scandal after scandal, and that makes me think that there's something going on.
And what is the content of the apology? Is the apology defensive and saying, oh, well, no, here's the context, and I, obviously it looks bad, but I was doing this and whatever. I think that there is, when you have this huge platform and you have put so much of this bad into the world, especially bad that then gives permission to your young, impressionable audience to make jokes that then are hurting kids in their class and having repercussions on how they think, you now have this overwhelming responsibility to make up for what you did. Just as Keith said that you can't just be neutral to offset the bad. If you've done a lot of bad in your past, that means you need to do even more good in your present and future to make up for it.
Here's a tricky thing. So a lot of these people, and there are a lot of people even now, who are young teenagers on social platforms. There are people who our brains are still developing. There are also, a lot of times, a kid is basically just regurgitating the kind of things they've been raised learning.
Which we hope you also regurgitate everything you hear on this podcast.
Sometimes these 13 and 14-year-olds are saying stuff that they don't realize yet how bad it is because their brains are still forming, they're still aging, they're still meeting people. Maybe these people live in very isolated communities that don't have many black people in them, or Asian people in them. I certainly grew up in a situation like that. And now, they're maybe making these horrible mistakes on giant platforms. But the problem is when you make that horrible mistake at 14, and then you make a very similar horrible mistake at 18, and then you make a very similar mistake at about 22, and then you make a very similar mistake at 25. So I empathize with children who are learning and growing and make really big mistakes because honestly, I think some of those mistakes are entirely the fault of the parents and the community they're in. They would not think it is acceptable to make that joke at 13 unless someone else has told them it is. So like these TikTok kids who are like doing blackface things and coming under fire or saying these horrible things, that's a horrible thing to say. They should get in trouble. Their parents, like, we should look at more than just this kid who is being racist and figure out what is going on that made this kid think that was okay.
And by the way, like, think about, I think entertainment plays a level of culpability from adults. Like, think about the comedies that were the most popular when we were a kid.
Absolutely.
The Apatow movies that I adore. The 40-Year-Old Virgin has this long running joke of, hey, you know how I know you're gay? It is like, these were the mainstream. This was mainstream comedy.
Right.
And so, yes, 13-year-old kids then mimic that, and they don't know that is wrong, and that is why we need more diverse voices in content.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the issue because, YouTube is already still a very white dominant platform. Although we always tout this whole idea that it's the great equalizer, it really isn't. It's just another copy of the entertainment industry at large, right? So I think that we also have to remember that most all of these problematic YouTubers are from a place of racial privilege, and that a lot of the people who have come forward and then who have been essentially denounced as either liars or attacked by their own fans have been people of color, and I think that there's a certain amount of, what's interesting is I think that a lot of people who have come for some of these big YouTubers before, which, it's not just like a wave of everyone saying like, oh, we should cancel XYZ. This has been a constant criticism since their first racist incidents, right? And I think that the overall acceptance that we as people who want to like hopefully see some of these people deplatformed or at least own up to their issues and try to rectify them is that we don't expect them to actually be canceled because they've never been canceled. Like they in fact have thrived. So what we're seeing is that people are just asking, and this is where it kind of like even relates to like the Karen ideology. People are asking for the bare minimum, like the barest minimum amount of effort, which is, it is not that hard to come onto even your own platform with your own like self-edited video and say something that would actually, help the situation and appease some people who would be like interested in seeing your growth, right? It's not hard. It is so strange then to see that, especially with Shane's apology, that it's somehow again like got into a situation where where he was sort of then becoming defensive and deflecting about what the reasons were for the past racist things he said. And I think that if you can't even reach the bare minimum for what critics are asking for, which are very valid, then how can we expect you to then take those lessons that you supposedly are learning and then grow from them and support, diverse voices in the future? Because if you can't take your ownness on yourself for just one even little apology video or a tweet, people are not asking for that much. And I think that that's just the disheartening thing to see, is that I think that a lot of this retaliatory thing of oh, now people are coming for me, now I feel like I'm being attacked. I think that it just needs way more maturity and a lot more of an understanding of where we are at as a culture right now, which is that we need people like them in these huge positions of influence and power to own up to their past problems and to hopefully usher all the people who follow them into a better understanding of why it's important to I think that's why people really appreciated Jenna in a lot of ways, because she not only did the bare minimum, but then she took it a step further and said, I need to take time to reflect on myself, reflect on how I'm affecting the community. And I think that's just the issue, is that it's just really not that hard for someone to say truly that I'm sorry. But I think we've just been so brainwashed by these apology videos and this cycle of drama that we think that it's just part of the YouTube ecosystem, when really it's not. It's it is tabloid fodder. It's toxic. It's, I hosted the VidCon live stream for Pride last Saturday, and there was this contest that had all these young beauty influencers, and they were Black and Latino and queer, and you don't see them raised up as the biggest influencers on the platform. And I think that's a big shame, because they were all loving and they were very supportive. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, we've just decided that we're going to associate YouTube with negativity and bad people. And I think that that is just such a weird place, that maybe this has been the source of a lot of what made Hollywood stars popular back in the day. But I think that in the end, we have so much more responsibility as people who are giving our actual lives to audience members, because they are taking it and they are literally idolizing and regurgitating poor behavior.
I'm conflicted about I want YouTube to take people who are doing constantly bad things. Even right now, Jake Paul did the video where during Black Lives Matter, it was in a mall looting and showing, it's just what are you doing, bro? Stop. And why are you there? You're only there to cause harm. You can't possibly be there to do anything positive. Why is this person given the opportunity to have a career off this platform where we know that there are all these young people? Why isn't YouTube? And I know that they do things with their the softwares, behind the scenes that do limit things that are flagged, or they're looking for things. But there's also people that work at YouTube, and there's also people that just say hey, this is objectively hurting a generation. Maybe we shouldn't give this person any opportunity. There's a struggle, right?
It's a tough line.
It's a very tough thing, and that's why I'm struggling even talking about it, because I don't want. Would we give other people who are doing only bad things a platform? Sometimes record labels, they drop their people. Mm-hmm. But YouTube hasn't done anything where they fully drop one of their people like that. Logan Paul, although he can't make money off of it, he can still have his channel on there, so he can still promote his brand. He can still sell his merch.
It's a tough line to draw, right? I think part of why this moment is happening is because the audiences at large are saying, well, if you're not going to take control, then we will. And it is on the platforms. I think that YouTube can and should do things within their algorithm to decrease the rate at which shitty things like this are promoted on their site. Because maybe deplatforming outright, it's such a thin line. It's hard to know where to draw that line in the sand. But it's also the responsibility of the audience to choose better. And I think it is totally reasonable what we're seeing right now, which is audiences are saying, we demand more.
I think there's an interesting dichotomy too with YouTubers where you see people, right, Zach, you were speaking about taking an apology that's not meant for you. You see out in these apology videos, people are you dropped this king and a crown. And it's it's okay for people you idolize to fuck up, and you can still call them out on it, and you can still like them and watch their stuff down the road. But there's zero accountability. And I think that Twitter creates an environment where it's you can't critique somebody without canceling them fully, and you can't critique them and then still enjoy their stuff later. And people aren't fallible because they're sort of these like YouTube, big stars.
Yeah, we have created a binary for sure where there only seems to be either completely innocent or completely canceled. There's no in between. I do think, and I don't know that we've quite figured out what this looks like yet, but there should be a path towards rehabilitation and reconciliation with the audiences that you have hurt. Just as like, if someone does a crime, they go to prison, they do their time. When they come out, they should be reinstated as members of society, right? Like they have paid for what they've done. And so I don't know what the answer is, and I think we're all wrestling with it very publicly in a very messy way, but someone like Jenna should have a path to make up for what she did with the actions of the present. And frankly, I think anyone should, but it's up to them to really make it an effort and to prove that they mean the apology.
Yeah, I think that's what you said. I mean, I believe people deserve second chances, but it takes effort.
Right.
You can't just say something and then keep doing what you're doing.
You probably know Honey is PayPal's new money-saving shopping tool, but did you know it does more than just automatically apply coupons to your cart? It's a way to save and get free gift cards to some of your favorite stores.
Here's how it works. Just shop like normal and let Honey apply the best discount to your cart. Then, whether a promo code is found or not, you can earn Honey Gold, Honey's rewards points. Let the gold points pile up and cash out for free gift cards to stores like Amazon, Sephora, Target, and more. It's Honey's way of passing even more savings on to you from the commission it makes when you check out.
So right now, our listeners can head to joinhoney.com/tryguys and get 500 bonus gold points, but only if you use our special URL. Just add Honey to your browser and sign up for an account. That's it. And then you can stack your savings, get promo codes and gold points on the stuff you buy every day. You're already buying this stuff already? Why not get rewards, huh? From new clothes to groceries to food delivery, all of this stuff counts.
Not using Honey is literally passing up free money.
Add Honey to your computer or laptop for free at joinhoney.com/tryguys and get 500 gold points. That's basically free money, guys. That's joinhoney.com/tryguys. The tough part is that punishment doesn't necessarily create change. Punishment is not how people change. Punishment, and in fact, we've often seen is how people feel like they want to dig deeper into what they've done before. We need better abilities, and this is more probably a comment on the prison system, but there's nothing about prison that fixes somebody. That absolutely nothing. That it's a crazy institution that only creates more problems, and also it itself is incredibly fucked up. Just everyone being mad at somebody and them feeling bad and hiding in their house for 3 months, that's not gonna, what's that gonna fix?
Yeah.
That's not gonna fix anything. And we need to figure out what are if Shane Dawson says that his mental psyche can't handle this, then how can we create institutions or therapy outlets? How can YouTube maybe provide some sort of therapist guideline or something that can actually be a behavioral rehabilitation process other than just everyone throwing stones at somebody, because I just don't think that's going to fix things.
We learn at these YouTube conferences, right, there's some things that they just completely delete, take off the platform, like hate speech, and then some things that they kind of just suppress so it doesn't get served to as many people. So it's given the amount of content that that's going up on YouTube, they have this crazy hard job to create systems that kind of create the guardrails.
What I don't like about the systems, I like that the systems are in place. I think they can be effective, but I also think that they hide behind their systems when things go awry. And they're normally the system would cover this up. We can't believe this got through. It got through in a really weird way.
Yeah.
Crazy that your mental health and your LGBT content got demonetized. Our system really shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
We'll change it immediately.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people are conflating this idea, because cancel culture as a term is, I think, too catch-all. It's not really examining all the different aspects of what makes people currently very frustrated with the system at large and with entertainment. I think I think everyone generally believes that people should have the opportunity to grow and learn and shouldn't be like constantly punished, because that only creates more of a contrast and a binary and an enemy that like feels like it's not going to bring us anywhere. But I also think that a lot of the conversation that's being had is like when you bring up these past continuous racist incidents, like what was the system that we were partaking in that supported that? What was the system that brought them to the point where they now live in their mansions with millions of dollars and billions of followers? Like what we are questioning, I think this, what was the environment that was conducive for people to essentially not only get by with discrimination or with casual racism, but they can also flourish, you know? Because this isn't just like random mid-tier people. These are like top YouTubers.
Yeah.
And I think that they would be the ones who you would first say like, oh, you should kind of have like recognized that right after you said that. You know, that's something that you should have recognized is part of the responsibility of what position you're in, especially with all the young kids watching. And I think now with everyone being like, why are you digging that up from like 10 years ago? Why are you digging that from 5 years ago? I think it's, you know, part of it is just people being very frustrated and wanting to discuss what is it that we have lived with in terms of what we've accepted as like okay for people in positions of power to say these types of things and yet go completely unscathed. And you then see the president, you see it in every level of like public media and entertainment. I think people are trying to express that these types of comments, like in the end, are very harmful. And again, I bring it back to like YouTubers have a unique situation where they are also their own PR. They are like being able to just put a camera on themselves and say directly to their audience, like what exactly should be said. And I think it's just so, I think what's really disappointing is when they can't grasp the basic empathy that they need to show for everyone who's like talking about them to believe them that growth is possible, you know, because I think a lot of times we can empathize that, you know, being in YouTube is a very difficult position in itself because so much of yourself is constantly on screen and constantly like displayed and recorded. And I think that in the end, though, it is kind of part of the job, right? Like you understand that everything you say is going to be in a video or on a podcast. And so by that point, knowing that you are also making money off of that, you better damn well recognize that you have a responsibility to be part of the progressive change and not a regressive one.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this case with some of these YouTubers, there's a level of reparations that would be totally valid here. Like you have done damage, and that damage came with extreme monetary gain for you. So give it back.
Yeah, Becky was saying that Shane Dawson should take all the money he made off the Jake Paul docuseries and donate that every year.
Yeah.
Something to move slightly from YouTube to broader, something that I've been wondering about. Anytime public discussion is not great for nuance, right? And I do think that there is a lot of it here that needs to be considered. So I was thinking about this animation scandal. It's more just this discussion of why don't we have more people of color voicing people of color? What are the systems that even allowed this blackface episode of 30 Rock to get to air in the first place? Because maybe you didn't have in your production team other voices who were there to say, hey, can we think about this? But the thing that I fear is that because there's not nuance to that conversation, I've seen a lot of Family Guy fans are like, this is fucking ridiculous. Cancel culture has gone too far. What, you're taking away my cartoon character now? And I don't think it's about that in this case. I don't think it's demonizing them, but I think it's about trying to make a positive change and reflecting.
There's a broader conversation because I know that a lot of people are debating whether or not white people especially should be voicing characters of color in animation, where they think that animation as a medium is one in which you should voice anything you want. You could voice a pony, like who cares? I disagree to a pretty far extent because one, I think the issues that are coming up, Jenny Slate is interesting because I think she's understanding her gesture is important to an overall movement, which is that why not cast someone who more relates to the identity of a character? Why can't we do that? In the Family Guy situation, even in The Simpsons, who like what fucking Latin American actress is going to play or want to play Consuela the maid? It's already a parody of race. Like you already have to look at the production team and the writers and the producers of these projects. Already that's where we lack diversity. That's where we lack voices. It's already white, straight people, men especially, writing other characters. So they're not going to give a fuck if they cast someone who doesn't look like that character. It's already from a majority perspective shaping someone without that person's voice. And that's so sad because the one thing you can do as someone who is casting something is give the character the voice of the person that they look like. Like it is so, it's like the easiest thing, you know? And it's just, I think that's what's kind of insane is that I think that there shouldn't be the erasure of that because there's a lot of really amazing voice actors who've played a myriad of characters that I certainly have loved growing up. Like Phil Lamar played Samurai Jack, which I think was dope. But, you know, I think that if that was coming out today, I think Phil himself would also probably say like, yeah, maybe cast a Japanese American or an Asian American guy to voice Samurai Jack. Right. I think it is also of the times, but I think that we as a society are at a point now where projects can only be enriched, I think, by seeing the performers completely relate more closely to what is the story being portrayed on screen. And I don't think animation necessarily gets a free pass because they are drawn or CGI characters. I think it's, in fact, almost like even more important in a weird way because animation has so much, y'all know I'm a huge animation fan. It has so much of a breadth of like storytelling possibility that when you have things like the first queer characters on children's shows that are happening like all across like Netflix right now, you want to cast like queer actors and queer performers, and that's what they're doing. And I think that we live in a time where we know that, we see that, we recognize that, and it's so much more powerful than just having the same handful of people voice every single person.
But if we have queer actors play queer characters, then how are straight actors going to win Oscars?
You know, they just have to get really, really, really unattractive.
I don't know, man. That's crazy.
A lot of the problem with cartoons that are like comedic and had been made in like became around in like 90s and 2000s when a lot of comedy was based on ridicule and othering. Yeah. So people made characters that were, the whole point is ridicule, right? Consuela. There's nothing about that humanizes that experience whatsoever. It is literally that character is a joke. Apu is a joke. Even if you make episodes that show the breadth of humanity within that character, doesn't really matter because after that episode, they revert back to a joke. And it's sort of like, and if you look at YouTube too, there's like a classism that is also very entwined with a race divide in America. And the white people are the majority population. They have done a lot of things in government to make sure that white people have the best success, and they have a white superiority complex built into our government. It is very apparent. So of course the media got to run wild with like, great, we're the only people running media, we can write whatever we want. And also our experience and understanding of like this class and race divide is that, well, we can make fun of these other characters because mostly white people are watching, and mostly white people will think that's funny because we're making fun of somebody else, and it's fun to make fun of somebody else when you're a bully. Like, I think there's a lot of like how our entire country is built with class and race divides that is echoed in our pop culture. But when a kid then watches Family Guy at the age of 8, and they have never met a Mexican or Latin person anywhere in their life, that is their one example of who they are, well, then they're only going to think that person is a joke. That entire race is a joke. And it's like an unfortunate, like, real experience probably for kids that their comedy is being shaped around ridicule and othering.
There is a nuance and a difference between the canceling of problematic creators who have overt racism and us asking of things that maybe on their face aren't problematic portrayals, but still saying we can and we should do better. And both of those things fall under the umbrella of this system that has been existing since the origin of this country.
You point out something really good because it's not just like I think some of this is now happening also from a corporate standpoint in which they're trying to like overcover their asses, and that is starting to convolute some of the conversation. The Golden Girls example is really, really important in this, where that episode is where they come out in beauty mud masks, and the actual dialogue they have is, I believe, Rose going like, "Oh no, this isn't blackface. We're wearing mud masks." Like that's the actual like conversation they have. And I saw all over essentially Black Twitter people being like, "What are y'all doing? Why are you using this as the thing you're going to promote Hulu to like remove this episode because you're going to make?" And there, of course, were comments all under that first post from Hulu being like, "This has gone too far. Like, you know, all these Black people are being really angry about things that don't matter." And I think that's really shitty because in the end, it's just like, it's a very complex and nuanced conversation. But at the same time, I think some things are pretty obvious. Like you kind of like, especially like when you listen to, and you know what it really comes down to too, is like, do these teams, do these people have BIPOC, have queer people in their circles, in their creative circles, on their production teams, in their households? Like someone will call it out at some point. Like all of the 30 Rock and like Kimmy Schmidt and Office examples, someone should have said like, "Hey guys." But I think that's where it comes down to, is either that they're not present or they probably certainly felt like, well, this is going to be like comedy. And I think that's where a lot of change can happen. And that's where you have something like Jenny Slate, at the very least, her idea of stepping away, using her power to step away to put in more diversity and voices into that system. That's a very strong progressive gesture. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not, it's almost like it becomes less about like the fact that, oh, did I do something bad? It's more, how can I create more good? And I think that is exactly what Keith was mentioning before. She's doing something within her power to make change. And I think that is to be lauded, you know, that is incredible.
Funny, once you start pulling the string, it comes undone more and more and more, because then it makes me think of, okay, but then what about the, you know, get people of color in the writers' rooms, but then what about the uncompensated work that they do just to be everyone's little race gut check? And that's a whole other can of worms. We can talk about this forever. We probably will continue to talk about it. But woo! When you're looking for advice, you might turn to a man, a myth, a legend. You may need advice that will go for miles, and this is advice that'll go for miles. Good luck following that, buddy. Advice that'll go for miles with Miles Bonsignore.
Spin that track.
It's advice that'll go for miles. Tune it to your radio station. It's advice that'll go for miles. Everyone get ready. Miles Nation. Miles Nation, go! It's advice that'll go for miles. Advice that'll go for miles.
What's up, Miles Nation? How's y'all doing tonight?
Oh boy.
Oh, he's trying.
Cancel.
How y'all doing out there fighting systemic racism? Can I get an amen?
I thought you were Aussie and now you're country?
Amen.
Have y'all ever wanted to go be a speedy little demon?
I
Like going
have.
fast?
Have y'all ever wanted to get the mail?
No.
I get the mail every day. Yeah,
Really?
it's kind of a fun moment.
Speed up your life and do the things you want to do.
I cannot wait for this.
Get sandals.
Oh my god! I knew it. I knew it was gonna be something so stupid. Oh my god, that's too funny.
Y'all out here wearing shoes when you could be wearing sandals.
Yeah.
Sandals are
Yeah.
going to help you get the mail without having to put your shoes on.
Are you talking sandals, flip flops? Any specific style you recommend, Miles?
Leather. I don't have them yet, but I'm looking online. So I've been wanting to get sandals for a while.
Keith, I think he's going for anything that you can get on the fastest.
Yeah, so
because it's all about efficiencies.
Flip flaps, but I'm guessing leather flip flaps so they survive the apocalypse.
Or like a house sandal, like a slide. Those slides.
Gucci,
Yeah.
Slide is good.
get Gucci.
No. Very different. You can't. The male sandals can't be the indoor sandals.
That's
you gotta
true.
Yeah, outside
separate the
sandals.
two.
That's correct, Zach. You want to have two.
I
sandals.
only have outdoor sandals, Zach.
Oh, you got to get some indoor flip flops.
My indoor sandals they call slippers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Indoor flip
Because I like it cozy.
Slippers.
Yeah, slippers.
I have not graduated to slippers, but that's a great idea. But
Slip slops.
Slip slops.
That's a great idea for a
Flip
segment,
flops.
man.
Slip-
Indoor flip
Slip
flops.
slops. Slip slops. But yeah, you're going to want to get sandals so you can get the mail real quick and run on back inside and get under the covers to open it.
You know, I recently did something that I've never done in my entire living here in LA, which is I went outside to get the mail barefoot.
Well,
And it was only because it was like a delivery like thing where I had to get it, and I was like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have sandals. I do have sandals, but they weren't by the door. So I'm just like, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And I ran out with my bare feet, and I was like, wow, that's okay. And then I was like, what do? Do I wash my feet? Maybe I stepped on coronavirus. I guess I washed my feet.
Don't stub your toe on the Rona.
I stepped on it because you know how often I put my feet on my face.
Wes likes to go outside in the mornings, and I sleep in boxers, so that's usually what I'm wearing in the morning. So I'm like, he's like, can I go outside? I'm like, okay, well, a couple things need to happen before that. You need to put on pants. You need to put on shoes. Dad needs to put on pants. Dad needs to put on flip-flops. And then we can go outside.
skill.
Dad.
I have a fashion comment on this advice that I go for Miles, and it's not what you're gonna expect. I think your sandals that you go outside in should be the one item in your wardrobe that should look like complete old shit.
Yeah.
It should be the thing. I pointed at Keith's recently and was like, where are these from? And he's like, I don't know, like 10 years ago. And I said, awesome. Because you should always be like, where did these come from? You're like, I think I got it like in high school at some point, and it's always been in my suitcase. And now it's just sitting by my door. If someone had like Dolce & Gabbana, like $1,000 sandals out there, I'd be like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You're not even wearing pants, sir.
Go off, baby.
I'll even say it's cool to just also wear them with socks. That's where fashion should just go out the window.
Wow.
You're walking around your backyard, your front yard.
Below the ankles is a anything goes zone.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
Do you think I'm right to go put on pants, or are boxers even fly outside? Just a little quick trip outside.
Yeah.
To the front or the back?
Wes asks for both routinely. That's true.
Don't garden out in the front yard in your boxers.
Then you'll be that neighbor.
You guys off the podcast recently were teasing me because I'm a firm now adopter of the Burke life. I'm all about Birkenstocks all the time. And I'm just going to say that this conversation is backing me the fuck up. They slip on easy. I've got great support. These ankles are thriving. I've never been so happy to just be living my best life.
So tweet me pictures of your sandals. And,
At mysandalsformiles@gmail.com.
yeah, we got a new email, Elliot.
No more emails.
Don't you dare.
Well, it's a new segment. We'll react to your sandals.
It's like the Barksler, but for sandals. You guys can't wait.
You know, Miles, your advice has been pretty dumb recently, but that sandals comment sparked a good conversation. Better be stupid next week, though.
Hell yeah, brother!
All right, thanks for joining the TryPod. Thanks, King Miles, for being king. Thanks for Queen Keith for being a queen. Thanks for the whatever Jack card for Zach. Jack.
I'm here.
And thanks to Ned for being the ace, because ace is all about that ass.
Aces, baby. Be sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars. Check out our store at TryGuys.com. Help support the show. Help support our staff. We are making videos 3 days a week on YouTube.com/TryGuys. We try anything and everything. We help you learn things. We hope you learn things today. And be sure to get your mask on, baby girl.
Hit us with the TryPod theme song, Queen.
When you go outside, put on a mask. When you do comedy, try not to be racist. These are things we learned in June of this month. Hey!
Until next time, stay beautiful.
Hey everyone, I'm Ariel.
I'm Becky.
I'm Maggie.
And some of you know us as the TryWives.
We have a brand new weekly podcast called You Can Sit With Us.
Where we have fun, lighthearted conversations about female friendship and what's going on in our lives.
We'll talk about pop culture,
Current events.
Motherhood, pretty much everything.
Take a seat and join us. Here's a little clip of what we have in store.
We are going to try this segment called Couples Court, where we take a look at an argument that a couple is having. Could be any couple out there. This one just happens to be somebody that I know. Individual A really likes to take long showers.
Got it.
Person B doesn't. Person B actually doesn't like showers at all and finds them to be kind of a nuisance. If you're not dirty, why would you take a shower?
Oh my God.
Because then
What is this?
person A really loves showers. The 20-minute showers continue. And you're thinking to yourself, what are you doing in there for 20 minutes?
What are you doing for 20 minutes?
You don't stay in the shower for 20 minutes?
I do when I do
Margaret!
a hair mask.
I've been there for like at least 20.
Stop it!
Well, how fast? I got long hair. I'm a hairy person. I got to shave legs, arms. I was super hairy growing up. Becky's actually seen photos of me. Like I had fluff. I haven't shown anyone these photos, like fluff coming off my arms. I used to like wear cardigans all the time.
Yeah, she always said she was hairy when she was a child.
And nobody believed me.
I was like, okay, yeah, you're probably like hairy. And then she was in Peru with her grandma, and she sent me like your
I
communion
think I
picture
burned
or
those
something.
photos. Like they are nowhere to be found.
And I was like,
no.
oh shit, she was right. She was this like adorable little baby,
Little fuzzy baby.
just like fuzzy.
My mom must have gotten like rug burn like as I came out. Like I was so hairy.
Oh, man.
I was so hairy.
were
Like
so
it's
cute,
shocking.
though.
It was shocking.
I also assume person B is not doing a hair mask, shaving his
No.
legs or underarms.
No.
I'm sorry, their legs or
They're,
underarms.
yeah. No, they
What
are
are they
not.
doing?
Great question. Person A actually has absolutely no idea. Person A can't, or person B can't really get. I've gotten confused which one takes the long shower.
A takes long
A
showers.
takes long showers. Okay, so person B,
You're doing a really good job being impartial too.
it has gotten to the point where person A takes like 3 showers a day.
What? That's just bad for you.
Thank you.
It's called You Can Sit With Us. So please do.
You can get it anywhere you get your podcasts.